Welcome to the Balkan Buffet, where I invite you to feast on various topics in Balkan history. In today's episode, we discuss the role that alcohol played in the region. It spans millennia, and we'll also discuss the famed fruit brandy called Rakija. Before serving you the main dishes, I'm going to serve you a little appetizer and discuss the general history of alcohol in the region. I believe it'll give you a little warming up to the main course. The very earliest traces of alcohol use by modern humans is found in a prehistoric burial site within a cave in Haifa in modern-day Israel. Here, researchers have found residue of a 13,000-year-old beer they believe was used in ritual feasts to honor the dead. Traces of a wheat and barley-based drink were found in stone mortars carved into the cave floor. There's some debate among scholars in determining what came first. Was it agriculture, or did the invention of alcoholic drinks and the demand of it push humans into engaging in alcoholic practices, thereby leading to civilization? What about alcohol in the prehistoric Balkans? Archaeological evidence suggests that as early as 5000 to 4000 BCE, communities in Romania and Bulgaria were brewing beer, and the Minoan civilization in Greece started around 2000 BCE. These early beers were often made from a combination of gathered ingredients and cultivated grains, a practice inherited from both hunter-gatherer and early farming cultures. Mead, or a fermented honey water, was one of the earliest libations to be produced by Indo-Europeans. With agricultural intensification, beer became more prevalent across the Middle East, ancient Egypt, and Europe. The influence of the Greeks and Romans was significant in shaping alcohol culture in the Balkans. The Greeks brought viticulture, or the cultivation and harvesting of grapes, to the region, establishing vineyards and producing wine, which became integral to social and religious practices. The Romans continued this tradition, expanding viticulture and introducing new brewing techniques. Wine was central to their daily life and rituals, laying the foundation for the region's enduring wine culture. Although viticulture was brought to the region of the Balkans, the amount of skill necessary to cultivate grapes might have led to the downfall of wine in popularity and the rise of Rakija. Yes, the history of alcohol is vast and highly interesting. But let's get to the main dishes and focus on the history of alcohol in the Balkans specifically. Wine became the only allowed ritual beverage with the introduction of Christianity in the Balkans. Vineyards were common in the northern region of Posavina, which stretches along the Sava River, as well as along the Danube shores in the 14th century. Smederevo was the capital of the Serbian despotate, had its own terroir, meaning a sense or place, or all the things that make it easily identifiable that a wine is from a certain region. For example, being able to easily identify a California wine from the Napa Valley. And this terroir was recognized as such in 1843 in Belgrade as Smederevka, or the type of grape was a Smederevka. So wine wasn't the only alcoholic drink being made in the region, though. During the Middle Ages, monasteries played a crucial role in the production of alcohol. In order to preserve as much harvest as possible, churches, having the space to do so, participated in alcohol production. For example, Serbian Orthodox monasteries, with their vast estates, had peasants bring barley and hops as part of their labor services. The arrival of the Ottoman Empire in the 14th century brought significant changes to alcohol in the region. Although the non-Muslim population were allowed to enjoy alcohol, Muslims were restricted from partaking in alcohol consumption due to the Quran forbidding alcohol use. Additionally, Ottoman rule introduced kahvehane, which later became kafanas or taverns in English, but kavehanas did not allow liquor consumption and were generally designated for coffee and tobacco use. Mehana, later becoming mehanas or wine houses, were restricted to non-Muslim quarters and were closely monitored for visitors during especially puritanical religious control. In addition to words like kafana and mahana, we see other words that originate from Ottoman rule in relation to alcohol use. For example, Bektashi describes a male with a loud personality and someone prone to excessive drinking during odd hours. Even though the Muslim population was forbidden from entering mehanas and consuming alcohol, there are accounts of Muslims patronizing them, with records going as far back as 1536. Late 16th century Sarajevo in Bosnia shows the earliest evidence of taverns opening in the city, although the owners and bartenders were non-Muslims. Yes, the arrival of the Ottoman Empire into the Balkan region did alter alcohol consumption, but a 2017 academic paper by Dr. Jelena Mirgic suggests that the decline in alcohol use is not exclusively due to Islamization. Furthermore, the decline in wine production may have contributed to the rising popularity of alternative alcoholic drinks, as we'll see. The 16th century saw a decline in viticulture throughout the Ottoman Balkans. While the Islamic faith did prohibit use of alcohol and change the landscape in the region, Islamization is not the only cause for the decline in viticulture. In fact, something much larger could be the cause for the decline in wine consumption, but the rise of Rakija. Specifically, Dr. Mirgic argues that the Little Ice Age in Europe during this time produced colder and wetter conditions that were not suitable for wine growing. This change in climate also led to a migration of the skilled labor force, and the frequent war campaigns in the region caused even greater insecurity within the rural populations. But in the place of grapes, a little fruit steps in and rises to the occasion. Plums, being resilient and generally easy to cultivate, became a primary source for alcohol in the Balkans. This plum alcohol is called Slivovica, Slivovka, or Romania has its own version called Tsuika. And this plum brandy had many benefits. Along with being easier to produce, transport, and export, the drink also had a higher intoxication impact at a whopping 40 to 70% alcohol volume and was attributed naturally to medical and healing effects. Other popular fruit sources included apricots, pears, and quince fruit, and some had add-ons like roses, herbs, honey, and anise. Although alcohol has played a medicinal role throughout the regions of the world, including the Balkans, alcohol use has played a central role in social functions throughout the Balkans. Alcohol in the Balkans has always been more than just a beverage, though. It is a cultural cornerstone. Rakija, in particular, is central to social rituals and family gatherings. Rakija is used in rites of passage, religious ceremonies, and as a form of medicinal remedy. Despite its strong alcohol content, Rakija is seen as a symbol of hospitality, for example in Crete, and is often offered to guests as a sign of respect and friendship. And to decline is a big no-no. The production of Rakija in the Balkans was also very gendered. Although women were allowed to distill alcoholic beverages to make medicinal compounds needed to maintain their family's health in regions outside of the Balkans, for example in Germany, Rakija making in the Balkans was a job left strictly for the men. But this job could also be expanded to include the illegal production and distribution of alcohol. Dr. Mirgic states that schnapps production and commercialization, both illegal and legal, was an ongoing practice in Belgrade. and the surrounding areas and along the border with the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Of interesting note is her finding that peasants from the Borca district in Belgrade during this time happened to be highly skilled at moonshine making. So much so that some traveled to the US during America's Prohibition era, where alcohol was illegal between 1920 and 1933, to transfer their knowledge to bootleggers. To wrap up our feast, let's discuss the role of alcohol in the modern day and the legacy it has left in the Balkans. And we'll also see how two nations are competing to call Rakija their own. Today, the tradition of alcohol production in the Balkans continues to thrive. Countries like Serbia, Bulgaria, and Croatia have preserved their unique methods of distillation and brewing, producing high-quality Rakija and other spirits. These beverages are celebrated in festivals like the Skrepa region in Albania and continue to play a vital role in the cultural identity of the region. The legacy of ancient brewing and distillation practices is evident in the craftsmanship and pride that goes into every bottle produced. But which nation has the original claim to inventing Rakija? Several countries have taken measures to declare Rakija as a national drink, including Bulgaria, Serbia, Turkey, and Crete. Both Serbia and Bulgaria can trace the culture of Rakija in their distant histories. Earliest Serbian mentions of Rakija date back to a 14th century source in a legal code. Similarly, a 14th century chalice found in Bulgaria has inscription, "I have celebrated with Rakija," which allows the Bulgarians to also trace their history of Rakija to around the same time as Serbia. But in 2015, an 11th century fragment of a distillation vessel used for the production of Rakija was discovered in the fortress of Lutiza over Ivailovgrad. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. In Bulgaria. Unfortunately for the Serbians, this gives Bulgarians about a 3-century head start in Rakija making and are thought to be the true originators of Rakija. Rakija plays a particular role in the Orthodox religion, according to an article by Dorota Magda. Rakija is the soul of Balkan villages. People are born around Rakija and unfortunately say goodbye to life with the drink. But I particularly loved her description of Rakija as that, quote-unquote, faithful companion throughout life, since it accompanies individuals during all family celebrations, including weddings, christenings, parties, Christmas Eve, singing to Rakija, crying with it. Although Islam generally forbids the consumption of alcohol, certain orders of Bektashi practice the sacramental consumption of Rakija known as dem. The Bektashi order is a Sufi Islamic belief with a long and mystic tradition in Albania, and the order is currently led by Baba Mondi and headquartered in Tirana, Albania. The Bektashi belief was especially embraced by the Janissaries, the elite soldiers of the Ottoman Empire, who were, for the most part, forcefully recruited as children from Christian areas of the Balkans and served as a child levy or blood tax. So, if alcohol is forbidden in Islam, why is Rakija permitted as a sacramental element in Bektashi practice? A 2016 article by Napolitano and Benazzo attempts to answer this question, and they interview the Dede of the order, and his reasoning for the alcohol use is that Rakija, quote-unquote, reveals a man's true character. Revealing one's true character is an important aspect of Sufism, since knowing oneself allows one to reach the ultimate Sufi goal of uniting with God and burning the ego by purifying the inner self. The Dem also has a person called the Saki Dedesi, who fulfills his duty of warning those who may have become a little too intoxicated, and if necessary, removing them from the chem. The dem ceremony is organized by the Dede, and the process of taking the dem is called ask etme, which translates to making of love. Some other countries where Rakija is popular are Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Turkey, Romania, Greece, and Crete. Croatia, for example, provides its own twist on Rakija and makes the drink from various herbs and plants, including anise, pine cones, mistletoes, lavender, and ingredients such as olives, honey, and Williams pears and walnuts. This, I believe, is due to the presence of Franciscan friars who served as a source of medicinal healing to both Christian and non-Christian populations. Historical evidence suggests Ottoman medicine allowed alcohol use for medicinal purposes, but strictly to save someone's life. There's a late 19th century historical account of a Franciscan friar helping a Muslim in Konica who was very ill. The friar told the man to bake a barley loaf, cut it into two right out of the oven, and wet it with rakija, pepper it well, and apply it as hot as possible to one half of the stomach and the other half on the small of the back. The man was reportedly cured after the third application. The history of alcohol in the Balkans is a testament to the region's adaptability and perseverance. From prehistoric brews to the famed Rakija, each sip tells a story of history, tradition, and culture. And with that, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Balkan Buffet. Cheers to the past, present, and future.